Hey everyone, this is Matthew from Randolph, and I'm here to explain to you the rules behind our little game, Very Badlands. It comes in two little boxes. This is the Brachiosaur box, and this is the T-Rex box. And it's a game in which you are the dinosaur. That's right. So I'm going to explain how the game works. I'll explain why it's in two boxes at the end. So we're going to start off. I've got a game set up here for 4 players. And each round starts off with passing out the disaster cards, because the goal of the game, right, is to survive the disasters. You have to be the last dinosaur standing. Well, you don't have to be the last. You just have to be the one that doesn't go extinct. Basically, there's lots of winners and just one loser, the dinosaur that goes extinct. So we'll start off with passing around the disaster cards. So we'll pass around one card to everyone, and we're going to put the rest of the deck in the middle of the table. Okay, then we're going to flip over this card here, and that card is called the River. All right, now everyone is allowed to look at their disaster card, check it out, and see what they want to do with it, because we've just done the disaster card distribution phase, which is the first phase of the game, and now we're going to move on very quickly to the swapping phase, in which, you guessed it, you can decide whether you want to keep your card or swap your card. Now, if you want to swap your card, you can swap it with either the card that's on the river, right here, or you can swap it with the player to your left. You're not allowed to swap it with the player to your right or the player on the other side of the table. Absolutely not. Just the one on, just the player on your left, and that player isn't allowed to say no. They're not allowed to say, "Oh no, I want to keep my card." No, no. Once you've decided to swap, you've got to swap. Now, why are we swapping our card? Why are we not just happy with the card that we have? Well, that's because at the end of the swapping round, everyone's going to reveal their card, right? And the card with the lowest number is going to lose. And when you lose, your dinosaur loses a life, right? So if we look here at the Brachiosaurus right in front of us, he starts off with 3 lives. As a matter of fact, all the dinosaurs here start off with 3 lives. And if he loses a life, you turn it sideways, and now you see the number 2 is facing you. That means you've got 2 lives left. So you want to try to hang on until the end and be the last one or to be part of the last group that has lives and not be the dinosaur that goes extinct. So you're going to look at your card, you're going to decide whether you're going to keep it, whether you're going to swap it, and it's going to go around the table like that with everybody making that decision until we get to the last player, who's the player to the right of the first player. That's me, because I have the first player card. And that player obviously can't swap with the first player because I've already made my decision. They can swap with the top of the deck instead if they decide to do it. So they can either keep their card, swap at the top of the deck, or swap with the river. Okay? So let's imagine everybody's done their stuff, and then we move on to the third phase, which is called the reveal, right? So I'm going to flip over my card, and everybody flips over their card to see who has the lowest card. Well, what do we see here? The number 1, the meteorite card. That is, unfortunately, the lowest card. So the Brachiosaurus would lose a life. But wait. If you look here, you can see that some of the cards, this one in particular, has a little effect on it. This one is the glaciation card, and it's got a little shield with an arrow pointing down. And if you look at, on the other side of the player aid, the list of effects of the disaster cards, you'll see that that symbol means that the lowest card is protected. So the Stegosaurus has played the glaciation card, which protects the Brachiosaurus with the meteorite card. So the Brachiosaurus doesn't end up losing a life. Well, who has the lowest card now? Uh-oh. It's the Stegosaurus that has the lowest life. So he actually protected the Brachiosaurus and ended up getting a lost life himself. So he would go down to 2. Okay? And that's basically how a round works. You'd collect up all the cards, shuffle them up again, pass the first player card on to the person to the left, which is the final phase, and then you do it all over again. But there are disaster cards with other effects on them, and that can completely change the nature of the game. So let's have a look here. We have the volcano card, right, which is number 2, which has a little explosion and a heart on it. What does that mean? Well, let's imagine that the Brachiosaurus had played that card. What the volcano does is, if the player who played, or I should say the dinosaur, because you are your dinosaur like I said, the dinosaur who played that card, if he doesn't lose a life, he gains a life. Well, once again, if the glaciation card is played and protects the Brachiosaurus would gain a life. He's already at 3 points, 3 lives, so it doesn't matter, he's not going to gain any more. But if he'd lost a life earlier, he would gain one back. So that's how the volcano works. Another fun one, that can be fun or not, is the disease card, which is number 9. Now you see there's a little explosion with an arrow pointing upwards. Well, that means that the player with the highest card, the dinosaur, with the highest card loses a life. So that means, in this situation, the prehistoric mammal would lose a life, as well as the player with the lowest number, which is the Stegosaurus with number 3. So suddenly, everybody's losing lives all over the place. The Stegosaurus loses a life because they have the lowest number, and because of the disease card, the prehistoric mammal loses a life as well. So they end up going down to 2. So suddenly, everybody's losing lives all over the place. And if you haven't, you're looking pretty good. There are a couple of other cards to explain. The Night card. Now this one is pretty cool, because what this does is it affects another card in play, which is the famous Meteorite card, the number 1. If the Night card is in play, if someone's played it, or if it's in the river, because all cards in the river, their effects work. If someone has played it, or if it's revealed on the table, this turns the Meteorite card to 12. It's no longer a 1, but it's a 12. So maybe you want to hold on to the Meteorite card. Maybe it's no longer such a bad thing to have a number 1. Who knows? Risky. It's risky being a dinosaur. That's just the way it is. Another couple of fun effects are the heat wave. Okay? The heat wave, if it's in the river, there's a little symbol on it that has a little wavy line there. So if the heat wave finds itself in the river at the beginning of the round, anybody whose card, right, this is before we've done all the swapping and everything, anybody who has a 6 or higher has to make a noise, right? So you can either knock on the table, or you can make the noise of your dinosaur. I'm the prehistoric mosquito, and I have the 6, so maybe I'd be like, "Bzzz." And this is a way of collecting information, a way of getting an idea of what everybody has in their hand before we start swapping cards with them. So that's kind of fun. And then the last card in the Brachiosaurus box that has an effect is the Flood, right? Which is number 5, and you can see once again that little wavy line with the +1. That indicates that if at any time this is revealed in the river, you add another card to the river. Okay? So we could end up with a whole bunch of different cards in the river all at the same time. So that's all the disasters that can happen. So you're shuffling them up, you're dealing them out to people, you're trying to figure out, oh, should I swap it, should I hold on to it? And then what's going to happen when everyone reveals? And that brings us to our, more or less our last point, which is the dinosaurs' powers themselves. Because at the beginning of the game, when you get your dinosaur, you're going to reveal it, you're going to say who you are, and then you're going to describe what your power is. You're going to read what your dinosaur does. So let's have a look at the 4 that we have in play at the moment. We've got the Brachiosaurus here, right? Okay, and the Brachiosaurus has a very special effect, which breaks one of the basic rules of the game, which is if somebody decides to swap with you, the Brachiosaurus can say, no, I'm not swapping, forget it. And then that player has to either keep their card or swap with the top of the deck. All right, so that's the Brachiosaurus' special power. Then we have the prehistoric mammal. If the prehistoric mammal has the Meteorite card, it's completely immune, right? Nothing happens to it because, hey, the mammals survived the big meteorite, right? Because of their fur, I guess. I'm no paleontologist. Then there's the prehistoric mosquito, right? That's the one that I was playing. And the prehistoric mosquito allows the player on their turn, right, when they're going to swap their card or not, they can add a card to the river if they want. And that'll give them and everybody else a little bit of extra information and maybe another effect, adding to the chaos. And the last one is the Stegosaurus. On my turn, I can look at the disaster card of the any dinosaur who played before me, right? That's his effect. So basically, he can have a look at what other people have in their hand before he decides whether he's going to exchange with somebody else or not. And there's a whole pile of other, whoops, those aren't the dinosaurs, these are the dinosaurs. There's a whole pile of other dinosaurs, right? There are 12 of them, as a matter of fact, that come in the box, okay? I've shown you 4. There are 2 more that have a little dark spot at the bottom, and those indicate the dinosaurs that you're meant to start with, to start your first games. And then the other dinosaurs have a lighter spot. So in the first game that you play, you're better off playing with the dinosaurs with the darker spots. And in future games down the road, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to shuffle all of the cards together, all 12 of the dinosaurs, and then hand 2 out to every player. You look at the 2 dinosaurs, you decide on which one you want to keep, and you discard the other one, and then you reveal it at the end of the game. So this is the craziness, the fun, and the chaos all packed into one little box like this, the Brachiosaurus box. But there's also the T-Rex box as well. The T-Rex box comes with 12 completely different dinosaurs with completely different effects and disaster cards that have slightly different effects than the ones that are on here. And if you want, you can go 100% crazy and combine the boxes together. You can get the Brachiosaurus box combined with the T-Rex box, which means you got a big pile of disaster cards going from 1 to 11, not once, but twice, with all of the effects there and all of the dinosaurs that you can choose from, and just have an absolute whale of a time. So that's Very Bad Lands. And I've been Matt. Thanks for joining me.